Alright guys, so there's not a lot of videos out there, well there actually isn't any videos that I could find on how to take the side rocker or skirt off a 2000, well this happens to be a 2012 Camaro SS convertible. And I wanted to make a video as best I could to help those folks out there that are intimidated by taking these side skirts off, these stock side skirts, because I think there's a high intimidation factor. Whereas the skill required isn't a lot, it just takes a lot of patience. So before we get started, I happen to have a blanket under there so that when I'm working with the skirt, as it starts to drop, it's obviously not going to fall into the concrete. I've got my brother here to help me out with an extra set of hands, which I would highly recommend because the piece is long. You may have to work both sides kind of at the same time, or at least can keep them under control. As far as tools go, you know, that was also something that was very ambiguous. What I did is I went on to Harbor Freight, let me spin around here, Harbor Freight, and bought this extremely cheap, made in I'm sure some foreign country, 5-piece trim toolkit. It's got these nylon, they're plastic trim, they look like pry bars. They're made out of nylon. I was a little apprehensive about buying plastic, but then the more I thought about it, since you're working around a painted surface, and it ends up being a pretty good deal. So this costs, I think, $7 at Harbor Freight. And the two pieces I used primarily were this one, and this one right here is by far the one that I use the most. And you're really not going to use this to pry the side skirts off as much as use this forked section to compress each snap. Once you compress the snap, it makes it a little easier to get out of there. So these are the two that I use primarily to do this. What else you're going to need? I think this is a T20 Torx bit to take off the two screws on each side of the fender well, a rubber mallet to kind of give yourself at least a head start on knocking the skirt free, and I use some painter's tape or some masking tape to just tape around some of the areas where you're actually using these tools, because I guess I'm just you know, concerned about scratching the paint. So here's my stock skirt. We'll go ahead and start getting into this. Alright guys, so what I've done here is I've done a little masking tape pretty much along the seam of where the skirt is. You're also, right here is pretty close. Once you start loosening up this rocker panel here, it's awfully close to the door. So I went ahead and threw in some masking tape there, but just stepping around the side, you know, did the same thing here, because this is ultimately where you're going to be, once you loosen up these remove these two, and there's 1, 2, and I don't know if you can see them, but 1, 2 T20 Torx screws there. That's where you're going to be starting to use this trim tool, and you're working around a painted surface, so you know, it's just, I guess it's an extra set of precautions. Here's the other two T20 Torx screws. You can see they got to be removed. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and then we'll get to the point where we're going to start using this trim tool, and I'll try to keep the the cussing to a minimum. So let's go. Alright, so now we're ready to use to try to start prying this off. Like I said, it just takes a lot of patience, so take it slow. Like I said, I'm going to start with this tool here. What you want to do is you want to try to find the clip. This first one's going to be hard to see. It's right about there. There's not a lot of space. As you can see, something's kind of thin. I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this fork right around that clip, and I'm going to try to compress the clip. Just kind of work it. You see, there's the clip there. And what I was trying to do was I was taking the fork and just literally compressing the clip so that it frees up. And you basically just work your way down. Now there's 3 of them on this end here that you got to do. And you just kind of keep working with your fingers. You just keep kind of working this tool. Like again, you're not really prying with this tool. You're more or less just trying to collapse that clip so that it frees up. You're really using your finger more than anything else to do the prying. Just like that. And then there's another one right in here. Like I said, you want something that's going to be thin. So if you can't find these at Harbor Freight, you want something, I'd say somewhere. They sell them on the web. I've seen them on Amazon. That's it. See, there's these 3 clips. Now that's it for this end. We're going to move to the front and do the same thing with the ones that are up there. Alright, so now we're on the front. Now this one's kind of tough because, you know, online there's not a lot that tells you how many of these you got to do. But having done that side, I've pretty much figured out that there's 2 here, one about here, one here. There's a third right on the joint of the door, and I think this bottom one here isn't set up so that it just slides off, because ultimately what happens is once you pop these 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 1, 2, 3 here, you're going to start hitting this and sliding it down, because the rest of the clips are set up inside the skirt so that as you slide the skirt down, they'll actually disengage. They actually just slide right out. But some of these, like these ones we're popping manually, are oriented the opposite direction. So if you're hitting on it, it's not going to go anywhere. So again, we'll take the tool, pull the fender well out here, pull it back. Now these are a little different in the fact that they're angled down. So these, instead of looking at it this way, you kind of got to look up at it, and it's right in there. There's the first one. Here's your second one. And then your third one is right up in here, but I don't think, on that other side, I couldn't get it out. I just couldn't get to it. And matter of fact, looking on it here, I can't find it. So when I started doing this, I started pulling this down and actually hammering it. I think ultimately this is the only one that I actually broke, because you're probably going to end up breaking some of these as you take this off. The fortunate thing is, if you buy a kit from the GM kit, as I bought the ZL1s, it comes with all clips. So if you break some, you at least have enough to put the new ones on. But again, these are the two that I remember loosening up last time on the other side, and then we just started kind of working it down. Alright, so like I said, there's one here, and it's really hard to get to. I can't actually see a way to get to it using this tool. And again, there's another one on the bottom here that maybe if the car was up and I could get under it, I might be able to get to it with this tool, but I can't see how that works. These are the two that I think either broke or eventually gave up as I was hammering this down. So really the next step here is you're going to start on this end, and you're either going to take a mallet, or some people have used their fist, and just start hammering it this way. But the problem is you got to hold this down and keep these clips out of these holes, so you want the least amount of things fighting against you as you hit it this way. I'm not going to show this part because my brother's actually doing the video. He's going to have to be on the other side, making sure that the clips that we removed over there are free of those holes as well as we hammer it down. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not professing that this is the best way to do it. This just happens to be the way I did it. And since there's a lack of information, I'm hoping that at least some of what I'm showing you gives you a heads up, or at least a leg up, on how to do this on your own above what is already out there, which, well, isn't much. So one thing I forgot to tell you is that since I'm going to be using a rubber mallet, even though it's rubber, I still, again, want to mask up this end because this is a painted edge. I'm going to keep these skirts. I may want to put them back on. I don't really want to destroy them taking them off the car. So again, I'm just throwing a little bit of masking tape on here to try to minimize the amount of scuff that this might create as I hammer on it. Because you kind of got to be forceful with it. You know, little taps aren't going to get it there because you've got about, I don't know, 15 or 20 clips in this skirt that most of them want to stay right where they're at. So this is going to be counterintuitive. As you try to take it off, they want to stay on. So hence the reason I'm going to take a little bit of pressure. So I've hammered it pretty good, and as you can see, you know, I've got about a ½ inch difference here as I've hammered it down. That's loosened it up that enough of these you can start, oh sorry, let me get that. You can loosen this up now that you can see that some of these are visible as I move down the skirt. So what I did last time, and what I'm going to do this time, is I'm going to work myself down this skirt and pop some of these with the tool to try to make it easier on myself. I'm going to literally, see that there's a clip right there. I'm going to push it down in there and just pop it out just like that, and I literally will work my way down this skirt. You know, there's going to be something on the bottom, but as you work your way down the skirt and you get more and more of these you get free, the easier this thing becomes to come off. And I guess that's ultimately where the patience level comes into play. Is it you just want to take it nice and easy, take it slow, and use the tool anytime you can. The hammer is really just there to kind of loosen it up enough that you can start pulling it away like this. So again, I've worked my way down the skirt. I've used the tool. You don't see the clips. There's where one was. Here's where another one was. You can see them that they fall down in there. The whole point of this is that they sit in these grooves. I'll show it to you when I have the skirt off, but they sit in these grooves, and that's what's actually supposed to disengage as you hammer this skirt going that way to the rear of the car. So you can see they've literally fallen off as I've gone through. Wow, that's really blurry. Sorry guys. my camera is having a tough time focusing on stuff, so I may end up having to cut this out of the video. There we go. You can see them down in there. They've all kind of fallen off as they've disengaged. So I'm gonna keep working my way down. You can see there's that one that's tough. It's right there at the door, but that's the one, if you're probably gonna break, that's the one you're probably gonna break. So now that these are all loose up on the top, and we've got a lot of play in the, let me back this up. Now a lot of play in the skirt. I have my brother here hold this in. I'm gonna keep working it down with my fist. I'm gonna hammer this down with the fist. The point of that is to try to get the ones, you can see them down there, the ones on the bottom to free up, just like the ones on the top were supposed to. So let's do that. All right guys, now the skirt's off. This is kind of what it looks like now that it's off the car. That's the skirt, right? And then of course this is where it was, and every one of these holes, you know, that you see down the edge, and like here's one of the clips that stay in the car. That's ultimately what it's supposed to do, and you can then see the ones underneath, right? That these are supposed to disengage as you slide the skirt down. The problem I noticed, honestly, with this, here's a perfect example. This is one of the ones that should have disengaged by sliding it down, because as you can see, it sits in it like that, and as you hammer it down, it's supposed to go like this, and then ultimately pop right out. Well, what happens, it seems like for whatever reason these things get turned inside there like that, and then they don't want to come free, so they don't want to pop out. That's what you end up fighting with when you get so close to the end. You think you should be free, these things should just be falling out. Sometimes they get turned in there. So the best advice I can give you is, if you got something that's stuck and you can't get the tool to it to try to disengage, is just wiggle it. Don't pull and pry on it, because you might end up breaking the skirt, which you obviously don't want to do. I mean, if you break these clips, that's one thing, but breaking the skirt's not really the goal. So of course that just fell down there, but like I said, that's what you end up with. So you'll end up with all these skirts. These are the ones that have fallen, that they're up here and they fell into the skirt and fell down. I'm going to basically take all these ones that were this original skirt, and I'll put them back in here and keep them, because like I said, the ZL1 came with all new clips. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take the ZL1 skirt and put it down here, and we'll get it on. So remember that I said there was two of them that I used. This is the other one that I used out of that $6 Harbor Freight kit. The only time I used this, honestly, was getting these out of here, getting these ones that are in the car, still stuck in the car. You just basically get behind it like this, and then put your thumb there and literally just work it out like that. Again, you're not really prying with this. You're really using the fork to compress those clips. But this is the one that I used to get these clips that are still in the car. All right, guys. Okay, guys. This is the skirt that we literally just took off. The only reason why I feel compelled to show this to you at all is just so you can get an idea for where these clips are placed. Boy, this would be helpful if I had this oriented the way it would help. But this is the back of the door. So this would be the right side, back door. And these are the three that are closest to the rear wheel. And these are the three that we had to pop. These are the three that also only happen to have these foam washers. There's little foam washers on these clips. These are the three you have to pop. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. All will disengage when you hit the skirt to the rear of the vehicle. Problem is, here's that third one I told you about. If you notice this, I don't know if you can notice or not, but it's oriented differently than the one next to it. This one literally disengages to this way. This one disengages this way. That's why this one is the one you need to pop. The problem is it's right there where the door is, the door hinge is. I don't know how you can get to it. I'm sure there's some special technique, and maybe somebody can chime in after they watch this video, but this is the one I think you break if you're gonna do it. Matter of fact, here's my skirt, and that one's broke. So again, this is the one that you'd like to pop, but I couldn't. I just ultimately freed up this one and this one, and then as I started hammering it and freed up the other end, I worked my way down all the way with the pry tool, not pry tool, but the trim tool, until I got to this one. I could get it out. Once I had the tops done, then I could get to these bottom ones with the trim tool if needed. So that's kind of the way it works, and that's the way these are all kind of, as you can see. So in the front you got the 1, 2, maybe this third one that you try to pry off to begin with, but I don't know how you can get it, and those three down there. The rest you just kind of will free up with the tool as you hammer this to the rear of the vehicle. That's my old skirts. and just for giggles, here's the new ZL1 skirt from Gary's Custom that I put on my 2012. This happens to be the first side I did, and walking around the vehicle, we are doing the right side, and this is the new ZL1 skirt that's there. I'm gonna go get the bag of clips and the weather stripping. We'll get it all set up and pop it on. Alright guys, so like I said, with the ZL1 skirts, you get a bag of new clips for each skirt. You get weather stripping for each skirt. Some things to pay attention to. The weather stripping is side specific, as are the skirts. The skirts actually will say whether they're left hand or right hand. This says RH, so it's right hand. And the weather stripping also happens to say it up here. There's a little part number there that says RH, so it's right hand. They're also color coded. I don't know if that's going to remain constant, but that side happen to have pink plugs or red plugs. These happen to have green. So just make sure by the part number that you match right hand to right hand, and left hand to left hand, and then you literally, and one end is rounded and one end is straight. And this is where the rounded edge starts. You can kind of tell by the way you can actually see the bend, the curve here. So you can take this plug and literally just pop it right through this hole. And then you just work your way down, popping these in each hole. All the way down, like so. I know I've lost you. I know you can't see what the heck I'm doing, but trust me when I tell you, it's repetitive. Once you get one started, just make sure they're all good and seated. And I think they are good. So weather stripping's in. Here's the bag of clips. Like I told you earlier in the video, there's 3 of them in here that should have weather stripping, and you know what? These don't have it. So I'm probably going to go steal the weather stripping off my original OEM that has the three rubber, or the washers on them for these 3 snaps here, because I want to remain consistent. The other bag that came with it had 3 of them with the washers on there. I couldn't honestly tell you why this one doesn't have it, but it doesn't. It does have the 2 metal clips that go on the bottom of these skirts. We'll talk about that later. So again, like I said, there's these 3 that are supposed to have these the washers on them. That's going these first top ones. And I just want to snap those in here. I don't know if that it matters or not, but there's a pointed edge. It seems to me that the pointed edge is always opposite of the way that it slides in. So if this slides that way, the pointed edge will be to the right. And you just take these clips and you literally just work them down. As you go down the skirt. I tell you, putting this thing on is a hell of a lot easier than taking it off. I don't know if they actually ever intended for these clips to survive the removal or not, but I've managed to only break one, taking it off the way I just showed you, and that probably had a lot to do with dumb luck, and I'm willing to accept that. But like I said, in the face of the fact that there's really no real tutorial on how to do this the right way, I'm showing you how I did it, and I hope that helps at least get you started. You know, because once you get into this, you get a feel for how these snaps work. The patience gets you where you want it, but the patience is ultimately what gets you to the finish goal here, because it just takes patience. Got a few up front here I gotta pop in. And I think we're ready to rock and roll. I got these 3 spares because I took 3 from my originals that had the washers. So I'll put these back in my originals when I store them. So now we're left with these 2 metal, they're really a screw, I guess, retainer clips. They go into the bottom part of each one of the skirts. You just kind of slide them over the hole until it kind of pops in there. That's that one. And on the front, same thing. just slide it right in there so it sits in the hole. Now that you have all the clips and the metal retainer clips for the screws, you're really literally ready to pop this on. I went ahead and took the paint tape off my car. Well, I guess I'm taking it off now before I did this, just in the off chance that the tape gets behind the skirt. I don't want to make it. I'm going to leave the tape on the door though, because we're going to be working around it. But I'm just taking this tape off the car now. And like I said, I'm using painter's tape because I don't want a whole lot of it residual adhesive on my car. But at this point, I'm not going to show you exactly how to do this because I want two hands, or I want two people rather. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to take it up here, we're going to line up these holes, and we're going to pop these clips in, starting with the top. We'll do the whole top, and once they're all seated, you pop all the bottoms in. Here, you're not worried about jimmying it to one side or the other. These literally just pop in. So putting these things on is a cakewalk. Taking off the old skirt is the bear. So we're going to go ahead and put the camera down, and we'll be right back. We're going to snap all these on, and then we'll be ready to screw this together and be done. Alright guys, so we've gone ahead and snapped in these, the first three here and the first two on the other end, but we're still working our way along the top, and you can see here's the gap, those are those clips, and you're literally just taking it, pop it on. This part is so easy. I just wish the whole thing was like that. And then once you got this whole top on, you're gonna reach underneath here and just snap the bottom in, and everywhere there's a, you'll feel it, there's a square right where the square is where a snap is. And by the way, I apologize for my extremely poor filming ability, but I wasn't known for my movie taking skill. I think that one's on there. So once you're all snapped up, we're basically just gonna tuck this fender wheel back in, just like so. Make sure your screws line up. We'll take the T20 screws, line them both up, sink them in. There is a torque specific setting for this in the user's manual. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I'm going to use the old German method, good and tight. And that'll be it. We'll do the two screws in the front and the two screws in the back. We'll be done. So here we are with the finished product. This is the right side that we were working on that you watched me do in the video. I'm sorry if the lighting is poor, but I'm in the garage. It decided it wanted to rain here in Florida today, so had to do this indoors. But you know, I've seen these, you know, painted the way they're supposed to, which is you know, the bottom part of it, the textured part is not painted. I had this painted, the entire skirt painted by Gary's Custom. Did a fantastic job. Shameless plug, but it really turned out great. Everything fit the way it was supposed to. Very happy with it. And I hope this video has been entertaining and helpful at some level. And that's it. Just wanted to give back to you guys. Thanks. Later, C5.